Does it make you anxious when you're in a different time zone than New York?
No, because I just don't care as much. And quite honestly, I'm up at 3:15 a.m. 5 days a week. So I'm seeing
Yeah,
it.
so you're already kind of matched up with New
6:15.
York anyway.
It's 6:15
Yeah.
Eastern. It's like,
Yeah. That was my biggest struggle in California when I lived there.
yeah.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
Make sure you check us out over on YouTube. Subscribe to our Scoop City channel. You can watch us on video. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, anywhere where you want to take in all the audio. But of course, you can watch us, comment, be part of our community. You are a Scoop City resident if you are here right now. You're in. We don't give away parking tickets. No parking tickets in here, which I've been dealing with that lately. My goodness.
Just
way too
pay
many.
your tolls, Diana. Come on.
You're probably right. I need to do a better job of it. I also need to do a better job of keeping track of all the stuff that's flying around right now because we've been putting out tons of information about this upcoming draft. The Tyler Shuck chatter has gone everywhere since we started to talk about how his stock is rising. And, we're still continuing to follow the Derek Carr situation. I think we described it best as peculiar. I think that's probably how
Fishy?
the word... I said fishy, you said...
Fuzzy?
funkier. Fuzzy! You said fuzzy. That's what it was. Either way, I don't think we've changed our opinions. I still think there's a lot more to come as we get closer to the draft, just a few days away. But we are here. Aaron Rodgers has finally spoken about his plans. Let's get right into it. Here is what I'm hearing around the league. So, Chase, the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting and waiting and waiting, and I can tell you they have been told nothing from Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers decided to hop on the Pat McAfee Show on Thursday afternoon to let the world know what his plans are. And those plans don't really have the Pittsburgh Steelers name attached to it.
No, they don't.
In fact, the way he described it best is he said, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement still could be a possibility. Right now, my focus is and has been and will continue to be on my personal life. So we've said this for weeks, that retirement has always been on the table. And he certainly confirms that because this is the first that we're hearing from him this offseason, and that retirement is real. He shared that he spoke with Brian Daboll, with Kevin O'Connell, with Mike Tomlin. So these conversations went down with these teams, and yet he still has yet to make a decision with what he wants to do. So let me just first get your reaction just to him talking about what he wants to do here.
He didn't say anything. He didn't tell us anything. He said he's 41 in a serious relationship. I want to know who he's in a relationship with more than anything. He's almost become like this pop icon celebrity that we're just like talking about. You came on the Pat McAfee Show to say nothing, to tell us your story about the side of the Jets, to tell us your story about, that you met with Mike Tomlin, tell us your story that you met with Brian Daboll. He's a great mind. And Kevin O'Connell, you have a 17-year relationship with him. I get that. You're trying to control the narrative and applaud, like clap, like way to go. Like, I just don't understand why. He said he's going to play for $10 million, which is clearly not the fact. He might play for $10 million for Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't want him. All this tells me is that he's trying to capture in and control back the narrative when the Steelers, they might want him, but he's not signed there. This tells me like what's happening? Like, when is this going to happen? How much longer are you going to string teams along? Because eventually these teams are going to have to know what's happening. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they draft 21. They cannot be happy to hear these comments before you draft 21. They're going to be full in on a quarterback. Now, they're going to probably be looking to move up for a quarterback. Is it Jackson Dart? Does Shedeur Sanders fall to him? So all these things, he said nothing, Diana. That was my thing. He's like, we knew retirement was going to be the case for him. We've all said that. Like, you're telling us nothing that we heard, and it's just an interesting way to get the messaging out.
Yeah, you don't trade for DK Metcalf and give him the contract you gave him without having hope that the quarterback is someone not Mason Rudolph. I know they say that they're fine with him. They need to make a move. And now, look, maybe this gives Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan a little bit more ammo to make a move. While they were sitting and waiting, maybe in their mind, they were holding out hope that it would be Aaron, and maybe he still decides to go to Pittsburgh. But at least now they can get their ducks in a row. And now the whole league knows. So everyone is going to be watching this and, maybe making adjustments themselves with what they want to do in this upcoming draft, knowing that the Steelers are going to be in on a quarterback. They have to be after Aaron Rodgers truly he's held them hostage here. But now they're going to be able to let go a bit now that he has said, I do think it's interesting that he talked about money, saying that, he'd be willing to pay for $10 million. And like you said, maybe that was with Minnesota. But doesn't that now mean if he signs with the team, if he does decide to join,
could not be happy.
Like my starting number's $7 million, all right, we'll negotiate and get up to 10 because you said you play for 10. So look, he spent a lot of that interview not only talking about this upcoming next chapter in his life, which again, he didn't really give us much, but he talked about how he rented a Malibu, one of those little sedans to drive into the facility.
And he confirmed it. It was awesome.
An amazing photographer on the ground in Pittsburgh, of course. Do not put past Pittsburgh media. They're so good on the ground there.
Ed Thompson
they captured
is his name.
Yeah, shout out Ed for just probably taking a photo of every person that came through the road near the facility, which is genius. That's why you do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like TV news, newspaper news 101. But it was smart, and he captured it, and he got Aaron coming in on the Malibu, and Rodgers went on to share about his experience meeting with Mike Tomlin and getting in there secretively and making sure it wasn't a big story. But the other part of the interview, if you think Omar Khan is annoyed right now, can you imagine Woody Johnson?
Yeah.
The Jets, they took a lot of punches from Rodgers, I think, based on what was shared and his version of it. What'd you make of him saying that experience wasn't what he thought it was going to be?
So look, flying out, first of all, he's like, I flew out there on my own dime, and I met with Aaron Glenn, and I met with the GM, and this and that, and he thought it was going to be some massive meeting for the Jets to beg him back, and the Jets pretty much were just like, look, we want to have a meeting with you to get to know you, but honestly, our minds sort of made up. I agree that probably could have been done over text, but this happens a lot. They wanted to give you the respect of telling you we don't want you to your face. And he said, "Oh, Aaron, first of all, I've played with Aaron Glenn. Sorry, I played under Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn was I believe, defensive backs coach in 2017 for the New Orleans Saints, and one of the greatest leaders of men. And we talk about this all the time on this show that I've ever seen. He does things the right way." And look, he wanted to fly Aaron Rodgers out. And this happens all the time. They fly players out to tell you, hey, you're not doing this. I don't see the huge deal in it. I think he probably wanted a little bit of the superstar treatment that comes along with his name. And, the Jets were like, hey, look, man, we don't want you. We're moving forward. We gave Justin Fields $40 million. We didn't even try to offer you a situation. I know he just redid his house there in New Jersey. Rodgers did, so I'm sure he wanted to stay in New York. But this is a non-news for me. It might sound crazy to people on the outside. This happens all the time.
Yeah, he obviously didn't like the treatment of that, and I think he wanted to be heard more. I think he wanted to have them pick his brain because he is a 4-time MVP. He's got tons of experience, and maybe he wanted to stay there and be part of the Jets for the future because knowing the situations that are out there and like you said, all the life stuff that comes with it, and I always just think it's hard. You're going to take a shot at, it's not even really taking a shot, but you're going to share your experience with the New York Jets, which obviously was not a good one. I mean, we've been reporting this for 2 years now, that this has not been a great experience. I don't think anyone's sitting there listening to him going, wait, Rodgers doesn't sound like he likes the Jets. Well, yeah, no, we know that. But, in one hand, he'll rave about Christopher Johnson and, oh, he's so wonderful, he's so great. Yeah, but you're also disrespecting Christopher Johnson by sharing all of this.
Yeah.
So you don't like him that much. You don't respect him that much.
Yeah.
So
it's just,
look, that experiment in New York never worked. We knew it didn't work. And you have the Steelers now put themselves in this position. And let's touch on the Minnesota part of this because he said that he wasn't waiting for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll see. I think there's still more to be told.
Why hasn't he made a decision yet? You know what I mean?
Correct. I believe on the last third week of April, wherever we're at here, he can say that. But you can say one thing and then you can do another. Let's see what happens in the spring. So I wish someone on the show said, okay, so you're not waiting on Minnesota, but if God forbid JJ McCarthy doesn't feel great and isn't out there on the field performing at the level Kevin O'Connell has wanted, and they call you, you're going to say no because you're not waiting on them? Like, come on.
Well, so do you think it's Minnesota or bust at this point? Do you think just the Pittsburgh thing, maybe not money, but maybe years probably played into it? Like, it sounds to me he wants like some security past 1 year, and I've heard that from other sources that he
said
wants
no,
to play
though.
2 years.
He said no. He didn't say that.
But so
but again, we're not.
You believe everything he says.
Correct. I think it's all fair. I think we all have learned our lesson here that he's not exactly spitting truths in every sentence.
Well, then the timeline gets funky because like the Vikings aren't going to draft somebody. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers will. At what point, if you're Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan and the Steelers, do you say, okay, here's the line in the sand, and this is the drop dead date that we need you in the building because you got to learn new offense? Or do you think that it's Vikings or retire for Rodgers?
I think retirement is probably bigger than what we're probably leaning into, based on how he sounded. I'm sure he didn't really love this whole experience anyways. The free agency for him was new, and to be courted this way, I'm sure was awesome, but I don't necessarily think he believes the Steelers are a team that he can win a Super Bowl with. So it would
Vikings
make sense that I have a hard time imagining he's saying no if Kevin's calling him, going come be a Minnesota Viking star for us.
James Jones, who played with him for 8 seasons, he's on the show with me, the facility, right? And he mentioned, and I sort of just threw this by the wayside, but the first day of the offseason, first week of the offseason, he said there was pictures of Aaron Rodgers like working out and coming off like out of the gym. He's like, in the 8 years I've seen it, he's never worked out that early. That tells me he wants to continue playing. He's never stepped into a gym until like April. And that was February after the Super Bowl. He was in the gym working out. So it's just, it's interesting. It's like this whole drama. People love it. I'm a little over
There is
it.
so much drama to it, but I do want to be clear. Like, my own preference is that he plays. Like, I want Aaron Rodgers to play. I want to see him
for the storylines or for the physical part of the play.
At one point, he was my favorite quarterback to cover and to watch because of his talent, his ability. If we could see that again, if we can get that version again, then heck yeah, sign. Let's play.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be all this other distractions and just headache for people, that's not fun.
So it was all this news for nothing. He said nothing. Bottom line.
He said, bottom line, we start our show with no news.
No news.
New news, but that's okay. Let's talk some Giants. And I want to do this because the Giants are doing something that you don't normally see, which is they are headed into Easter weekend here, still watching quarterbacks work out. So they flew out to Colorado on Thursday to watch Shedeur Sanders. They've got Jalen Milroe on Friday, and on Saturday, they're going to fly down to Louisville to watch the guy that we've been spending a lot of time talking about, Tyler Shuck. So it's these late private workouts for the Giants. They're going to take in these last few here to collect as much information. And Chase, I can tell you from what I can gather after having some conversations, this is less about coming to a final decision for the New York Giants, but more about collecting as much information as possible to be prepared for as many situations that can happen. Because I think there's a thought out there that if they're watching workouts this late, then they must be split in the building. Then that must mean that HC and GM are not on the same page, or ownership is looking at this and going, you better be sure. You better make sure there is not a quarterback in this class, because last year you passed on a bunch of them. One that turned out to be, a surprise potential rookie of the year.
I get what you're saying. Why are they doing this so late? Why are they doing this right now? It seems to me, I mean, you're the one saying it. You just said it, but it wouldn't, like, are they in lockstep though? Like, have they not made up their decision on a guy that they want? I mean, they draft freaking number 3. And are they probably not going to take a quarterback at 3, but are they just trying to figure out, weigh their options, I guess.
I think it's interesting that you said, I don't think they're drafting quarterback at 3, because I can tell you there are some people in football who think they are. There are some who think they're going best player available. And it's unbelievable how split this is outside of the Giants. The Giants they'll tell you that they're in lockstep. They know what they're doing at this point, that they're just doing these final workouts to collect in case something happens at the top, in case they decide to trade out. It's just to have as much intel and information as possible as we get closer here.
There's no way they could. Are they still thinking about taking the quarterback at 3, like Shedeur Sanders at 3, or have they moved on to that to where it's best player available?
I don't get the sense that this is going to be quarterback at 3.
Yeah, there's no way. Maybe the board falls to them, and there's a guy in the 20s that's left over Shedeur Sanders. Maybe trade back in, but 3. How can you pass up a guy who can start for a decade for you?
They have done so much work on Shedeur Sanders. They are there. They were there in Colorado, or had a representative at every game he played in, at everything he did. They know if Shedeur Sanders is the guy or not. They're not working him out for anything other than to just continue to see what options they have here, what they have. They know what they're doing at this point for the draft. It's just going to be, are they going to try to get one of these guys in a later round? Are they going to try to see if they can get back in to get a quarterback? And you heard Joe Shane. He sounds like they are fine with Jameis and Russell, despite our own opinions on it.
Do you think that the owner, Mara, has a lot to say in this decision? Meaning, we don't want you to take quarterback so high, but could you see? I mean, let's just spitballing. Shedeur is available maybe after Pittsburgh picks. Maybe Pittsburgh doesn't go quarterback or whatever. Maybe they pick Jackson Dart. Could you see a world where the Giants move up, take Shedeur, and the owner's like, let's do it. Let's take Shedeur, comes to the bright city, big lights, and his dad in a year or 2, if Dayball or Shane doesn't work out, could Dion make his way to there to play with his son?
I don't know how Mara feels about Deion Sanders, but I'm gonna guess, based on what we know about Deion Sanders, coaching in New York doesn't scare him. Coaching his son probably is a dream. To do that in the NFL,
such an interesting conversation,
right? Which father wouldn't want? Who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
And he's been very supportive and open and loving and committed and all the things that you could possibly want from a father with his sons in their journey here, whether you agree with it or not. I don't know. I just wonder if that will be something we'll look back on in a year.
Think about it.
Chase, remember we talked about it? Like this idea, what if Sanders wants to get to New York for the reason to set it up so his dad could be his coach? Like it's all just theories at this point. I just have a hard time imagining where he goes if, let's say, the Giants don't take him. Which team do you think makes the most sense if they're going to be in? Because I'm with you. The Saints to me and the Steelers are now the 2 teams that they're going quarterback. We just got to figure out where and when and who.
Yeah, there's also like these teams that we think are comfortable with their quarterback position that maybe want Shedeur or say Jackson Dart even to sit for a year or 2. And maybe we're like, oh, well, if they draft in pretty high, well, okay, then we got to take into effect the type of money the starter's making, how soon they're going to get onto the field. So that could be a situation where they go to sit for a year, which I think would be good for both of them.
Yeah, I just wonder what these meetings are like right now for these teams like the Saints, Steelers, even the Giants, as we're getting closer, knowing what the problem is. The need for quarterback outweighs the talent that's in this draft. And this changes the way you attack it. And, you and I have had a lot of conversations with different people in football. I've had conversations with guys that are in for quarterback, guys that are not. And you sense a different approach. When it's you, when it's you, when you're the GM, when you're the head coach in on this draft for a quarterback in a class that's not strong, you can get yourself to buy into things. You can almost convince yourself because you're desperate. You're going to the grocery store hungry.
No, 100%.
And when you talk to coaches that aren't in the quarterback market for this draft, it's unbelievable how they see it.
You're almost blinded by the need that you need a quarterback.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, which is why the Tyler Shuck conversation became such an interesting topic after we talked about it here on Scoop City, because I'm sure you're seeing now, everyone's now saying Tyler Shuck is going to go in the first round. We don't know this. We just know his stock is up. We just know that there's things that there are teams that need an NFL-ready quarterback. And there are many people in football who believe he is the most NFL-ready for right now. And if you're desperate and you don't have a lot of time and your job may be on the line, you want someone who's going to be able to step in and do this, not someone that you have to grow, develop, and is going to need a few years under a veteran to even be able to figure it out. So we will continue to stay on top of everything New York Giants as they wrap up these workouts and figure it out what direction is they are going in, despite the fact that they say they know what they're doing. Let's take a quick break. When we come up, because there's so much going on, it is fun to sit back once in a while and not talk about it, but just observe what's happening around the draft. So I want to hear some of the things that you're going to be watching over the next 7 days. I'm going to share with you what I'm going to be checking out, and let's just go back and forth and share with each other what we're into. We'll be right back. All right, Chase, we are 6 days, that's all, until the prospects' NFL dreams start to come true here. I thought we'd do a little bit back and forth on highlighting some of the stuff that we're going to actually pay attention to between now and the draft, because the lying season's in full swing. Yet I feel like we're nailing down a little bit more of the truth, and teams are giving away some of the tells. So with that being said, I'm consuming a lot of these mock drafts just because they are useful indicators. So what I mean by that is, let's just start in the NFL. I know a lot of general managers and teams that use the mock drafts, the popular ones like Danes over at The Athletic that does the Beast.
Yeah.
They'll use Mel Kiper's over at ESPN and Field Yates. They'll use Todd McShay's. And the reason why they use it is because they're aware that these guys are plugged in as well. They're not just doing it based on their eye and the way their tape looks, or the players' tapes. They're having conversations the way I am. So I like comparing all the different mock drafts. And what starts to happen as we get closer, they start looking alike.
Yeah.
Like very rarely are you seeing a lot of differences in them, because they're all talking to these teams and they're coming up with the answers and they're uncovering some of that information. But I still think the fact that we're a few days away and no one, and I've been watching so many different shows lately, no one can say with confidence what the New York Giants are doing, which we talked about at the top of the show. Nobody really truly knows, which is then affecting a lot of these mock drafts. So like, how do you see the mock draft stuff? Do you like reading them? Are you picky about them?
I don't really look at them a lot. I have looked at every single one that Dane has done, because I think he does an absolutely wonderful job, truly, like with the Beast, and he's just so plugged in. He's so smart. Like, sometimes I wish I could transport in his brain, just be like, how in the world are you this smart? But the other person I listen to a lot is Move the Sticks, DJ. Daniel Jeremiah is excellent at his job. And when I worked at the NFL Network, it was like the Bible there. They were like DJ's top 50 prospects, DJ's this. And he obviously, I spent some time with him for the Chargers because he does their radio broadcast, just really plugged in with him. So those are probably the two that I use the most. I feel like, though, the 7-round mock draft, like, first of all, how in the world are you going to sit there and spend the amount of time going through every single pick? And it's not useful. It's like after the first 40 picks, I stop looking. Like, I know it's great and people love it, but I'm a big, just like, give me the first 15 and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I really, like, as a consumer of the draft, because I don't attend it, I'm just working usually the first round, talking to different teams, trying to put out as much information as I can about what they're about to do, what they want to do, why they did it. But usually by Saturday, unless it's some big major crazy thing that happens, it becomes something I can just watch and enjoy. I
Yeah.
almost equate it or compare it to the way I watch the Masters a little. It's so relaxing to me, and I just sit back and unplug a little and just take it in and enjoy some of the stories that are being told. I usually Google some of these guys. I don't know them all.
Oh yeah.
But I'm with you. I think it's so hard to keep the juice after the second round. And look, the second round is going to be interesting this year, at least the top, to see, especially with this quarterback situation. And we'll see how this shakes out, which is why that first pick in the second day is the Browns, becomes really important depending on how this shakes. So what about you? So we got a few days left. What are you staring down?
Mine is the New Orleans Saints. What are they going to do at 9? I truly feel like that's sort of where the draft is going to start. And obviously, like, I love the Saints, love everything that they stand for. Spent 5 years of my career there, so I'm invested in this. I feel like I'm a fan. If I were to ever truly retire, it'd be like, I'm going to retire as a New Orleans Saint. Those days are past, so I don't need to like go and sign a one-day contract like some of these big stars are doing because I wasn't a star. But that being said, it's like, do they go edge rusher to help the departure maybe of next year of Cam Jordan if he ends up retiring? I know he's playing one more year. Or do they go quarterback? Do they love a quarterback enough to spend a pick on number 9? I mean, remember Patrick Mahomes was number 10, and we're talking about Cam Ward off the board. It leaves 3 or 4 guys they could pick, and it's like, it could that be a shocking, like, Michael Penix Jr. pick? Like, terms of like, oh my gosh, he went up a lot higher than we thought. Could that be like a Tyler Shuck? We talked about him last year or last show. Could that be Jackson Dart? What happens if for some reason Jackson Dart goes 9 and Shedeur's still on the board? Like, oh my gosh, people are going to freak out. Like, well, maybe that's the order that teams actually view him in. And it's so much of the team, especially with Kellen Moore's offense. We talked about this. I don't want to go too far in, but the fit of the quarterback is so important. We on the outside could be thinking that, hey, Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or Tyler Shuck or Quinn Ewers or Kyle McCord, all these guys, there could be a surprise one. Like, no, this guy runs our offense perfectly. We have checked off every single box for this guy. It could be Kyle McCord. You just don't know. Like, it's not going to be Kyle McCord at 9. I get that it's too rich, but do they spend the capital to draft a quarterback at 9? I think that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's all fair. The only thing I disagree with you slightly is just that's where the draft starts. I think it's almost a second wave of excitement. Ooh. I think that's like the second wave of what we're going to see. By the way, we're Diana, counting out trades though. Like we haven't even considered that. There's still at the time that we're recording this, no team has traded their first round pick yet.
Yeah. Well, and this is what GMs have told you, and what I've heard as well is like, hey, after 1, 2, 3, I would hate to be picking at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's why I'm saying, like, okay, yeah, we know the top 3 prospects, right? Travis Hunter, Dole Carter, Cam Ward. But then at that point, where do we go in terms of edge rusher, quarterback? What do we do?
So I'm going to spend the next few days trying to figure out who's going to make that first shocking pick. I'm not going to be able to probably discover it. Maybe I will, hopefully. But I always think even teams don't expect to do the shocking thing, because I do believe in the NFL, and I know this, that owners can get involved with these decisions, whether fans want to know about that or not. Not every owner allows the football people to make these calls in the draft room. And when I say that, I mean there's levels of influence, right? You've got those owners who will sit in the room or sit in on some of these pre-draft meetings, and their body language can tell you what they want. So maybe they're not going, hey, head coach Bob, I really want you to do this, but they can read the room. They could see it. Is there any coach right now with the first name Bob, by the way?
Bob Stoops is in UFL, but that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And then you have owners that I know have made strong suggestions of players that they like and who they would want to see this organization choose with that first pick. I know GMs that have to get approval on who they decide. So for me, it's watching that night, thinking that we know what they're going to do, but keeping in mind that there are about roughly, and when I say this, I mean this because I had a conversation with a current head coach about this recently. How many owners are actually truly involved on that pick? And we were estimating probably about 13 or 14 are involved with the draft.
What?
Heavily.
Seems high.
I'm not saying like you are picking Shedeur Sanders right now, do as I say, but they're very much a part of the process.
I wonder of those 13 or 14 owners that are part of the process, Dianna, how many of those are good teams? And how many of those are bad teams?
As one veteran head coach once said to me, don't ever discount that there are dumb teams. His quote, not mine. So yes.
That's an amazing quote.
Sometimes it happens. Just because you're an NFL team doesn't mean you're properly run.
Do you think? Hold on, before do you think that last year the pick for Michael Penix Jr. was owner involved, or was it Terry Fontenot?
I don't know for a fact. But if I had a guess right now, I think that it was ownership influenced.
I do too.
I think ownership had something to do with that.
I agree.
Just because that was a shocking move. All right, what about you?
So we talked about the quarterback situation with the Saints, and I think I don't want to rehash too much, but who's quarterback 2? Is it Shedeur Sanders? Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Tyler Shuck? I think those 3 are in play for quarterback 2. Well, obviously, we're going to learn a lot more about them when draft comes, but I want to just that we talked about that about what do the Saints do at 9. So like, who do they pick? And we'll be able to see who quarterback 2 is. But more importantly, Dianna, does Mizzou have 2 players drafted in the top 15? Okay, Luther Burden and Armand Mimbu. Okay, the tackle. That's a big time for Mizzou. I know those guys are super excited about the opportunity. Armand is making moves up draft boards where he could be possibly picked above the tackle for LSU. I believe his name is Will Campbell. So it'll be interesting to see how high he goes. Tackle's always a premium. He's going to stay at tackle. People are like, oh, his arms are too... He's going to stay at tackle. I think he measured it at 33 inch arms. And then Luther Burden. I think, I tweeted out yesterday or a couple days ago, I think he could be receiver 1. I truly do. Like, T-Mac from Arizona is great. He ran a 4.55 though. If you want a full all-around, can play every single down guy, go out and get you Luther Burden. People were trying to say this and that. He's probably the most well-rounded guy. He's a speed dude. You know how people feel about speed, and just what team they go to. At two in the top 15 from the University of Missouri football in the SEC. That's big time. Yeah.
All of our Mizzou fans are like, thank God Chase is on this show. Actually, we probably only have Mizzou fans listening to Scoop City because of you. So shout out Mizzou. We'll see how that shakes out. All right, I'll wrap it up with, we always talk about how this is such a copycat league. And we just saw the Philadelphia Eagles put on a clinic against the Kansas City Chiefs, essentially with the way they have built this team in the trenches. I want to know and see and observe how many teams are going to look at that, because it's fresh in their minds of this is the direction we need to go in. We need to be reminded of this is the way to win. This is a good option to win. And are they going to go heavy in the trenches in this upcoming draft, which I actually see that happening anyway based on the talent that's in this class. But also, are we going to see some running back reaches? I think that, I've been asked about him.
Where's he going to go?
That has been one of the more common names I've been hearing from teams that are picking or potentially picking, because no one really knows where he's going to go. I've had teams at the top ask me about him. I've had teams in the middle. I've had teams at the bottom who think maybe they can get him, which tells you, like, what's his value? How is he being seen?
Wow.
I've heard the Raiders. That's been the name that's been high. Probably most buzz, right? Because you look at Pete Carroll's history when he was at Seattle, and favoring the running back position and using it.
USC too, Reggie.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would make sense. But if he doesn't take him, who's willing to grab a running back in the first round of this skill set? But I think a lot of people just saw what the Giants did last year and moving on from obviously incredible talent and how Saquon Barkley played such a big role in the Super Bowl win. So the influence of Philadelphia's victory is the theme I want to watch in this draft. And we'll probably talk about it in the shows after the draft of like, let's pick the team that we think is trying to be Philly. We'll go back and be like, well, this is what they're doing.
Like big, tall receiver, amazing run game, and big in the trenches on O-line, D-line. Those are like the three things that you would say, right? Like listeners out there, like I do think that the safe pick in this draft, like obviously there's like top 15 players that stand above and beyond, and then there's everyone else, in my opinion. I do think you start to see teams in the second through fourth rounds put a really big premium on O-line and D-line. Because I do think there's a lot of players there you can get for good value.
All right, wrap us up here.
All right, so last one. Where does Travis Hunter get drafted? One, but more importantly, what position does Travis Hunter get announced as? Roger Goodell, right? He's up there. Receiver, Travis Hunter. Corner, Travis Hunter. Athlete, Travis Hunter. Receiver, corner, Travis Hunter. He wants to be called both. He wants to do both ways. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns are drafting number 2. Their GM, Andrew Berry, actually said something about him and Shohei Ohtani. We have some sound. Let's take a listen to it right now.
I think it's, and I'm going to use a crossboard now, it's a little bit like Ohtani, right? Where, when he's playing one side, he's an outstanding player. If he's a pitcher or he's a hitter, he's an outstanding player. You obviously get a unicorn if you use them both ways.
Unicorn stood out to me. Unicorn. You're going to use them both ways. I do feel like that the Browns would probably use him as a receiver at some point, move him to corner, but it sounds like if he goes Browns, he's going to play both ways.
Yeah. All the buzz is that's going to be the spot that Cleveland is going to pick, and he is the guy. I'm just curious to see if there's going to be any teams calling Andrew Berry to try to move up to get him. I want to see if that's where we're to see the first big trade, and if there's any team motivated to go up and get him. I don't know this yet, but I want to see if that becomes a thing as we get closer to Thursday. So we've got so much to pay attention to between now and then. So much stuff is going to be flying around, and it's probably why it's one of the best NFL events on the calendar, because we just don't know. Up next, we're bringing back a favorite, maybe not one of yours, but one of ours. We got some bones to pick in our mentions, and we're to discuss some of those. Pineapple on pizza, what are we doing? We'll be right back. All right, back here in Scoop City, if you remember in previous shows, we did it a few times where we broke down the In My Mentions, and it's usually you and I talking about something in football that people are just crushing us for. And look, you get hit on the Eagles no matter what you say. I feel like you could stand up there and be like, the city of brotherly love is my city. They have the greatest athletes. Bryce Harper is my cousin. AJ Brown is my best friend, and they'd still be like, we hate you. Just because I know you shared. So I came across a random aggregator showing you, and my thought was, Chase is not working this week on TV. When did he say this? What is this? And so I clicked it just to like keep an eye on what you were doing. And it was you talking about if you were to build a team, that you would not include Jalen Hurts on a team that you would construct to be the perfect team.
Yeah,
and people lost it. Right?
I mean, this was done in March. Like it's midway through April. And all of a sudden, the aggregators are grabbing it. And look, I am more than happy to be Philadelphia's punching bag because they have to be pissed off about something. They can be pissed off at me. I don't hate Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good player. Do I think he's a top 5 quarterback like some of the Eagles do? No. And we're not going to get into it. That's not what it's here for today. But yeah, the question was posed to us. And actually, everyone on the panel agreed, including LaShawn McCoy, who is Eagles' all-time leading rusher and an Eagles Hall of Famer. It's like, how many other quarterbacks would you rather have than Jalen Hurts? And the question was, for me, I used it as like, who would I start a team with today? And I think Jalen Hurts will be 8, 9, or 10. And there's other guys that I would have before him. And, I was watching and looking at, I like to look at some comments. That's why we're doing this in this mentions.
I know, it's so hard.
It's hard, but it's fun because it's like these Eagles fans are delusional sometimes. They just want a Super Bowl. Why are you trying to get mad at somebody? And I was reading some of them, and they're on the attack for head coach Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden, is doing media for Underdog and stuff like that. And Jay Gruden was asked on some show if he agreed with Chase Daniel. First of all, he probably doesn't know who I am or had any idea who I am. And he's like, "What do you mean? Do I?" And he was like, "Oh yeah. He's like 12 or 13 on the list I'd start quarterbacks with." It's not that big of a deal. That's about the spot where most NFL people would pick Jalen Hurts. Top 10, sure. Like people think we should start number 1 because he won a Super Bowl and he won Super Bowl MVP and he's on Time 100 influential list, all that stuff. It's just this was aggregated from March. Why weren't you mad at me in March? That's what
I
my
know.
issue is.
Because they need something to be upset about before Easter. And look, if there's anyone weighing in on it who does not care what they have to say, it's Jay Gruden. So that's actually a funny person that is in your corner on this, because Jay gives no F's ever about anything, even when he was a coach, which is why he is one of my favorite head coaches I've ever covered, because he just is who he is and he's comfortable in his skin. Yeah, so I'm gonna guess that the internet never goes away, so that'll probably come up the next 15 times between now and the start of the season. So this is the world of the aggregators, though. Like they just randomly pick things.
It's random. It's a slow news week, I guess.
It is. It isn't, but it is. So to their craft, I get it. Like they got to pump out content. Because I've been seeing moments from the season that they're like pulling and putting on the timeline. I'm like, what? Yeah. Or like, look how sweet this was. I'm like some fan thing. And I'm like, what? That was like 6 years ago. Why are we
slow?
People are weighing in like
draft, it'll be better.
I know. Speaking of slow, when I saw you post the classic controversial, discussion of, you took a picture of your pizza with pineapple on it, and posted it and said pineapple belongs on pizza. Which,
why is that controversial? First of all,
because it's chaotic, it's bold.
How is that bold? It's fresh pineapple from Hawaii on cheese. It's sweet and it's savory and it's perfect.
Because I don't think fruit belongs on dough and cheese.
Oh,
like that's how I see it. I can separate the ingredients there. It doesn't mix for me. It's
okay.
It seems like you have way too much going on in a bite to enjoy what pizza should bring you. Like you like the sweet on top of the cheese?
Well, because the cheese is savory, right? The pineapple is sweet. And usually I do it with jalapeno, so that's spicy. So you have spicy, savory, sweet, with dough and some, oh, come on now. It's the only pizza I eat. Usually the pizza I eat is pepperoni, right? You get your savory with the cheese. You get pineapple and you get jalapeno. That's my pizza order. And people who think that it's crazy is crazy. More people agree with me than you. First of all, you said you'd kick me out of Scoop City, which is not cool. Not cool.
Know your audience. You have like the biggest Guido hosting the show with you. I am like all Italian through and through. You know this. You know I cook all the time. You think I'm going to be down for You think that's a tradition that we did in our family? Put pineapple on pizza?
Have you ever tried it? Truly.
No.
Oh, okay. So you can't. The fact that
because I can't do it.
That is hilarious.
Because it just doesn't. It confuses me. It doesn't make sense.
You can't do canned pineapple. And pineapple in New Jersey probably isn't very good. Come to the West Coast.
I don't even think we have pineapple.
Yeah, there's no way. You probably got to ship it forever. It's probably awful.
It's like the cilantro of pizza toppings, though. People are so weird about cilantro. It's the same idea.
Really?
Like, you're Texas, though. Cilantro
How do I not
to you
know
is
that? It's in guac. It's amazing. It makes guacamole amazing. Fresh, vibrant.
Again, so this is what makes Scoop City so special, is that we don't agree on anything ever, and that we've been raised...
Well, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you. We've been raised...
I was going to say, we've been raised on such different... Like, our upbringings are just very different, especially with food. So, how about this? Scoop City Olympics, winner has to eat what the other person wants them to try.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is not some like crazy bad thing. We need you to do a vlog because I guess vlogs are back in season. Make her do a vlog, send it to Kent to edit. You're going to film yourself trying pineapple pizza for the first time, and you're going to rate it like the Barstool guy does, 1 through 10. And we're going to see how it react, and it's going to be a clip, and it's going to go viral, and it's going to be awesome, and you're going to be on my side, and I'm going to be on Scoop City forever.
It sounds so gross. Speaking of people not liking Scoop City, a lot of you, and thank you for this, commented and weighed in on our favorite moments in professional sports, or in sports really, on the sports calendar. And man, I got crushed on this on my World Series Game 1. People were like, "What? Opening day over?"
Thank you.
So yeah, I got scolded on that. I got a lot of Chase is 100% correct on this. You are not right. So sorry that my favorite sporting events are not the same as yours. I also think as a reporter, when you cover this stuff, you feel different about these things.
That's so true. Your perspective's different. If you're going at it as a fan, the opening day is for sure. If you're going at it as a reporter, it's got to be World Series.
I didn't even have Super Bowl on my list because to me, Super Bowl is like
just work.
it's so
No
it is
sleep.
a marathon. That's what it is. It's a marathon of a day. It's exciting, but your day just you're not going to stop because you've also been spending the last week preparing for it. So it's this build up and all this anxiety. And then finally, I debated posting this because I knew it would actually get in my mentions. So I took the boys to see the Easter Bunny.
Oh, nice.
And I can't decide, is the Easter Bunny creepy?
Oh, there's some for sure that are creepy. 1,000%. It depends on
so
how
it depends
the
on the
smile is.
face. Yes, it depends
Totally.
on, like, are they doing, like, is it a smirk? Is it a big smile? Is it teethy? Yes. The face you're making right now is the one I think was closer to the one we visited. And it's just funny for a 3 and 2-year-old. The 2-year-old screamed bloody murder, looked at him like, oh, like, what is this? You know, because I'm sure he just didn't understand it. The 3-year-old, smart. He immediately worked him, was asking for T-Rexes, asking for dinos. Just, he essentially was like, this is
the Easter Bunny for something?
I think he just thought it was a furry Santa. Like, I think he was like, I'm doing what I did in Christmas. I sit on this guy's lap and I tell him what I want.
That's pretty funny.
So to watch the dynamic of that, do you guys do that? Do you go see Bunny?
They usually have it at the brunch place that we go to. We don't like actively seek out an Easter Bunny to go see.
I think I only enjoy, it's this weird parent thing, which I get this enjoyment out of it, is it sounds terrible, is watching the fear. Like, I enjoy watching Joey go through this experience.
You cannot say that. You cannot say
like,
that. You're gonna get
oh my
roasted.
gosh, they're gonna kill me on it. But
Funny, though.
it's so ridiculously entertaining. But credit to my little guy. He came around and we got a great photo. And now the grandmothers are all excited.
You got to share the
and
photo
we keep
for
them
sure.
all. We put them next to each other.
Yeah.
So, you know,
you guys do
the
Tooth
Easter-
Fairy? I mean, obviously you're not like at the age of losing teeth, but will you do Tooth Fairy?
We will do Tooth Fairy, and we are at the age of losing teeth, not by choice.
Wait, what?
My children just fall off things and knock teeth out.
Gosh, have you
So my
lost a
little guy
tooth?
my little guy's got no front tooth. It stinks. Yeah, and I did not. Yeah, he was standing on the kitchen table. Don't ask. Fell off it. Boop, popped out his tooth. And the thing is, I didn't know this, and maybe those listening that have little ones know this. If anything happens to a baby tooth, a half break, a crack, you don't have a choice.
You gotta pull it.
It's not like you have to pull it.
Yeah.
It's just, you're pulling it.
Yeah.
And when they take your child to pull a tooth, they strap the child in the dentist chair like they're in a sane asylum. And so Joey is strapped, feet, arms, everything in this chair. They fortunately numb him, and it was quick. But
Did you take a video of it?
I have video and photos, and
I gotta see that.
I got to debate if I even want to share it with you guys because you're gonna feel so sad for little Joey because he's
sad.
just so unhappy.
How was he after?
But
though,
yeah,
dude?
no. Oh, he was great. He was great after. Now
How much money do you give?
For that tooth, I gave $5.
That's a good one.
It probably should have been more considering he didn't want that to come out.
You should give him $100.
I should give him money for plastic surgery because I'm sure his face is going to be a little off from it. Why? Yeah. How do you have that conversation? Or how do you decide?
Well, yeah, I don't know. We have a 5-year-old. Our daughter has got like a loose bottom right tooth, and she's trying to pull it like crazy. My son, well, first of all, 5 is a little young, but it was loose. We were eating yesterday, and she's like, "Give me all these hard chips and stuff. I want this tooth out. I want a tooth fairy." She was like trying to pull out. She's trying to eat like she's like, "Give me broccoli," because broccoli's like hard. You can pull in, bite into it. She's eating an apple yesterday.
Smart little girl.
I was just wondering if you guys do a tooth fairy.
Either she likes money or she hates the pain of the loose tooth, because I could feel her on that. Because I remember begging my brother to, again, put this in the file if something's wrong with me. I had my brother tie a string to my tooth and shut the door.
That's normal.
To pull my tooth out.
Yeah, we've done that before. Yeah. That's the best
is
way
that
to do
normal?
it. Yeah.
All right. At some point here, I would like you guys to comment on our Twitter or YouTube. Is it normal to have a sibling or a parent tie a string to your tooth to slam the door to pull it out?
Yeah.
I'm so grossed out right now. But I did it, but it sounds rough. And hopefully the pain that you experience when you go through that is just quick and easy, and the pain that perhaps these teams are going to be picking in just about a week here are not going to be feeling. Hopefully it will be quick and easy. Although Andrew Berry said he's going to use the entire time on the clock. He's like, I'm not doing this quick. They're going to use a whole shot clock to make their choice. Why do you say that? To have teams call up?
Yeah, call up. That's smart. First round, last minute, man, to the last second. Use all of it, baby.
That is one of those things that coaches and GMs have shared with me in the past about how fast that goes. As the viewer, it seems forever. It's like, come on.
And after the first round, it gets lower and lower, right?
Yeah. Then you're really moving. But in the first round, it's the anxiety, it's the stress, it's the pressure, it's the cameras, all of it. So I can't wait to get there. Can't wait to hear the sound of it. Yeah, and Chase, we've got a really big week next week. We've got shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We've got a live show on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So if you want to check this out, you want to throw up on your screen, our YouTube channel, our Scoop City channel, you can see it all there, 1 hour. And we are basically just going to drop every last minute thing that we know and what we're hearing around the NFL in terms of what's going to go down on Thursday night. So make sure you check that out. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week, we'll have shows on YouTube, and we'll be going live on Wednesday, 4 o'clock Eastern. I'm writing on Tuesday. My column drops on Wednesday. So that show, I'm basically just going to share with you everything I found out and wrote about. So Wednesday should be our biggest show of the week.
That drops today.
You do? I can't wait to check that out. Guys, if you're listening to this now, go over to The Athletic right now. Check out Chase's first piece on The Athletic. He's been included in some of the new chapter of The Athletic, which we're going to focus on leadership, which obviously if you've been following on Instagram and TikTok, you can see there's a big old world for it and a big audience for those that are just trying to get better every single day in their life. They don't have to be an athlete. And hopefully some of Chase's thoughts and opinions here could help you in your day. So with that, don't forget to subscribe to our Scoop City newsletter as well. It is free. Check it out every day in your mailbox. It's interesting. It's memorable. I always put it as whatever I read in the morning, I always wind up sharing something from that newsletter, whether it's at dinner or if I go out with like a friend and have a drink or something, I share like, did you know? It's always like a good little conversational starter. So make sure you check out our Scoop City newsletter and we will see you guys next week.
Bye guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.